I don't know what's better.
They need to combine.
Yeah. The problem is they'll argue over the identity. Well, whose field are you going to be at?
They always do.
Yeah. And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Davenport Football Coaches Show. We are coming to you live from Uccello's in Caledonia, where we'll talk Davenport football for the next half hour or so. I'm Rick Berkey. The head coach, Sparky McEwen, is here to talk a little bit about last Saturday's game. We've got a very special player guest that set a new Davenport football record. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a bit. And then we'll preview this Saturday's game down in Ashland, Ohio, against the Ashland Eagles. Coach, we must reflect first on Saturday's game, 35-7 win by Ferris State at home. Nice crowd, nice day, but sometimes you just gotta hand it to your opponents. They were bigger, faster, and stronger.
You know, it's a national finalist. It's the pride of the GLIAC, and you know it showed. They dominated us on both sides of the ball. It was truly, in my mind, and as I communicated with the team, it was a learning lesson, and what it takes to get to where those guys are. Okay, and our guys understand that. We talk quite a bit about respecting the game, respecting our opponents, and playing the right way. And you have to be humbled, by a performance, like that. And we talked in depth about this after the game. So. We just got to get back on the horse and get this thing going again.
Yeah, one of the things as I watched and called the game on the Davenport Athletics Network, Spark, was that at halftime, you could already see everything has been happening, and yet I was really surprised. You're only down 14-0. What was the message at the break?
At the break, we had more concerns with the missed assignments. And Rick, you've been with me now for a while, and the way that I operate, we do not scoreboard watch. Okay, we do not that. It's we have a method to the madness. We have a plan in place, and we stick to the plan. And we were blowing a number of assignments, and it was frustrating because these are things that we were actually doing well in the first few weeks in such an early season. And then that's when you talk about your opponent. Your opponent has a little something to do with that, okay? And that's why they are who they are, and I told my guys, you're not going to do anything to them that they haven't seen. So you're going to have to execute. You're going to have to execute. And, to their credit, once again, you have to give them credit where it's due. They came out and they matched energy. And then more importantly, they played better assignment-free, mistake-free football than what we did.
When you have a situation like that, when you're seeing missed assignments, how do you assess at what point you say, okay, I can coach this player, you and your assistants, because it all comes down to you and your assistants at that point. I think we can coach them through this. This is while the game's going on. I can coach them through this, or nope, I got to make a change. How do you determine which way to go there?
Well, at that point in time, it's a great question. It's just like the quarterback play. The easiest one to stare at and focus is the quarterback or the running back or the linebacker or something like that. And, my mindset there is it works two ways. Either sometimes you get a guy out of that fire or you leave him in that fire to learn, okay? And I've been big on experience, okay? Getting in the fire, throwing you into deep water, seeing if you can swim. Use those experiences to draw on deeper in your season, because we've got another great opponent coming up that was voted, number 2 in the conference in Ashland. And Ashland had a great win. So our guys know that we have big games ahead of us. And as a coach, you got to be careful because, we went into that game undefeated. And sometimes when you take a loss of that nature, it could truly set you back if you don't recover from it. And I've seen this happen to ball clubs where they don't recover from a loss to an opponent. And it affects them in the games coming, moving forward.
So in effect, one opponent beat them more than one time. They beat them. They took 2 wins from you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have to be careful there when it comes to coaching, and then the players. We talked about it on yesterday, and you get it out of your system, and you move on. We talked to a number of players about what does it take, how does it feel versus your first 3 wins, and it was once again it's part of the process. It's kind of cool that in your division you have a team that played in the national championship game and they returned 18 starters. Okay, we can't look beyond that. You have 18 starters off a team that just won 15 games in 2018. Okay,
and has made it to the quarterfinals at least 3 straight years.
Yeah, absolutely. And our guys saw how they operated in that ball game. Okay, so we never ever want to get comfortable with a loss, and I just tell my guys, let's learn from this. Okay, let's draw up on this, and let's move forward. Let's put ourselves in a good place and take something from this loss.
And the team did keep scrapping. A couple of highlights there in that fourth quarter. First of all, exciting to see the young man from Grand Rapids Catholic Central, Nolan Fugate, recover the muffed punt that led to your lone touchdown.
Actually, that was not Nolan. No. He's actually Nolan's coming along. He's just about helping.
Somebody was wearing Nolan's number.
Yeah. We've got the double numbers. With the players.
I apologize.
Well, no, there's no need to apologize because I don't even remember who recovered that thing.
Yeah.
I know Dion, from what I understand, I think it was Dion Powers that once again had a strip, on that.
Yes.
But our players, they did not quit. You're correct. They did not quit. They played hard all the way through, and it was nice to, number one, get on the board because there was not a lot there, Rick, that outside of the fact that we had a lot of MAs, and that was a disappointing thing to me, and we talked about it, and our guys know that moving forward, what we need to do in order to, when we feel like, we're struggling, you just can't continue to make mistake upon mistake. Okay, someone's got to make a play.
Well, although we've acknowledged that there weren't many highlights in that, there was one outstanding highlight, and that's the play of the young man who you brought along with you, Kai Black, your senior warrior, and I don't use that phrase lightly. He is truly a warrior, set a program record, an all-time Davenport record, with 20 tackles in the game. I mean, you get 10 tackles a game, you're playing some ball, Coach. He got 20.
He's our heartbeat. And I told you before early when we started the show weeks ago that when you look up football player, Kai Black, face will appear. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, and every team that we play against, those guys are looking for Kai. He changed his number this year, and they're looking for number 1 on tape. Where is he at? Because you got to make a plan for him, and he's our emotional leader. He's our physical leader, and man, he took this loss really, really, really tough. Afterwards it was, he did not want to do the press conference afterwards. I told him, I said, you broke a record, his own record, and he doesn't care about those type of things, man. He was crushed because he wanted his ball club to show up big, in this ball game.
Yeah, it was a tremendous effort by that, and as you said, he cares so much about it. Coach, we're going to bring Kai in here now. Why don't you go grab some of that Uccello's food? Don't forget, Davenport is on the road this Saturday at Ashland, Ohio, against the Eagles. And in case you missed it, boy, I tell you what, it was everywhere out there, including ESPN and Sports Center and everything Saturday night. The Ashland Eagles threw a 52-yard Hail Mary pass on the final play of the game at Grand Valley late Saturday night. If you didn't stay up late and didn't hear about it, and they completed the Hail Mary pass to win the game, and that'll be our opposition this Saturday at a little before 1 o'clock down in Ashland, Ohio. We carry the entire audio broadcast for free. You can catch my call, my partner Bill's call this Saturday on the Dan a little before noon, a little before 1 o'clock. Make that for the audio version of that. With that, we welcome in Kai Black, the senior linebacker from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Wayne High School product. And let's talk, before we talk about your Saturday performance, let's talk a little bit about last year. Terrific year last year, second team all GLIAC. How did you approach going in? You had established yourself as a real factor in the GLIAC Football League. How did you approach going into your senior year? What did you want to do better or different?
Going into my senior year here at Davenport University, I felt like the next step for me was becoming a leader on my football team and our university, becoming a leader on campus, leader in the locker room and in the classroom. So that was my next step of improvement, not necessarily for the GLIAC or anything, but for my team and what we needed to accomplish. I felt like being a leader was what I needed to do.
I thought for sure you were going to say your goal was to do more color broadcasts with Rick Berkey, like you did with me. In case you didn't guess, last year, the game at Michigan Tech, Kai was injured. Wasn't able to dress for the game, but he was on the trip. So Sparky lent him to me, and he did color with me at Michigan Tech, and we had a last-minute thrilling victory to call. We had a lot of fun with that, and he did a great job with that. But you were Defensive Player of the Week once last week, was September 24th, with your fine performance. So now you come into this year right now. Specifically, was there a part of your game in the summer, Kai, that you say, I'm really focused on getting better here, whether it's weight training or sprint or whatever? Was there one particular area you said I need to get better at?
Well, I knew I needed to get stronger, so pushing the weights. Coach Gregory Martin at Davenport University, he spent the whole summer with us. He revamped the weight program for us because guys were asking for more things, and Coach Sparky likes big backs, big thighs, and big chests, so he preaches that a lot. And so over the summer, Coach Martin really took that to the heart, and he pushed us to our full capability.
I've heard a lot of good things from the coaches about Greg Martin, your strength and conditioning coach. Tell us a little about him, his style, and how he motivates you guys.
He's a different type of coach. He doesn't always get in your face and yell at you, and which I do like that about him. Some coaches tend to just yell, and a lot of the times when they're yelling, a lot of the things that they're saying isn't making sense or it doesn't really benefit you. Coach Martin would rather sit you down, talk to you. If he does have to get into you or make a point, he will prove his point. He will make his voice heard. But he'd rather sit you down, talk to you, make sure that you're going through the form right, make sure that everything that you're doing is right, you're getting low, you're doing the squats correct, you're bringing the bar all the way down, the bar is at eye level, below eye level, or, everything. So he's very strategic in everything that he does, and then he doesn't let up.
Visit with Kai Black, senior from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Wayne High School, which has been so good to the Davenport football program, sending the Powers brothers and yourself. What is it like being able to play college football with guys that you went to high school with, too?
It's awesome, man. It's really a great feeling. I grew up with these guys. Dion and Keon I actually went to middle school with as well.
Wow.
And so we've been together a long time, sharing that passion, and then also being on the defensive side of the ball with Dion and the way that he's playing right now and the style, how we've just watched our games elevate and push each other. It's just really been great.
Coach gave us the perspective from the coach's standpoint, how you deal with that loss when you're dominated. There's no other way to say it. You were dominated Saturday by Ferris State. From a player's perspective, how do you look at it?
They're the champs. That's how you look at it. You got to give credit where credit is due. Respect Ferris State as a program, and they're the returning champs. So we knew that going into the game. I didn't feel like all the guys let up or that they were scared or anything. It's just that they were stronger than us. They were more powerful. And so immediately after the game, I proceeded to hit the weight room, and then a few of the guys also followed. And so that next day at Sunday weightlifting, the turnout was a lot better. The motivation was a lot more there. We had a lot more energy because it was about moving forward, and the guys know that. You have to respect the game. You know what I mean? You win some and you lose some. And when you do lose, it's about going about it the right way. It's about learning a lesson from that loss. So that's technically not necessarily a loss in all aspects and all angles that you look at it from. So that it is an L on the record, and we're now 3-1 instead of 4-0. Mentally, we took a lot from that, and moving forward, I feel like we have a great sense of where we're going.
You can tell why he was so good on the air with me with that. You mentioned your record. Well, let's talk about another record. Kai's sophomore season, he set the school record with 18 tackles in a game. And Saturday afternoon in the loss, he broke it. The coach said you didn't want to hear about that Saturday, setting a school record. Now you've been away for a few days. Does it feel a little different now that you've been away from it and understanding you set another bar for your other future players to go after?
I mean, setting a record didn't really set into me because of the loss. It's a team game, so when one person does something spectacular like that and gets an individual goal, but the team goal is not accomplished at the time, you don't get the same feeling for it as if you would have if you were able to accomplish that with your brothers. And so shouts out to my defensive line for helping me get that and me accomplish something that can go down in the record book and something, that I can take pride in. But other than that, it really isn't nothing much to me.
Well, when your Davenport days are done, it'll mean a lot more to you. Trust me on that one. Kai is a major in international business, and a really interesting major. And you're thinking about taking your business skills and acumen overseas, possibly.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I do want to do. If I'm not able to go overseas initially, because I have done a lot of research and getting into managing fields. On that corporate level, it is pretty tough. There's a lot of powerhouse guys out there who already are in those firms and things. And so working my way up is my first key to doing that. And then eventually I do want to own a company that is not only a local company, but I can connect it to global and really branch out and expand my horizon.
All right, Kai, give me your dream job. Let's say 10, 12, 15 years from now, your dream job. It's got nothing to do with athletics at all. What's your dream job?
Nothing to do with athletics. Probably owning a restaurant with my mom. My mom visited Mexico one time with her boyfriend, and she thought that it would be really cool for her to own a restaurant out there and own a little pop-up shop. And so I always thought that would be something cool to give her and be able to run with her. My mom, she dedicated her whole life to raising me and making me into the young man that I am today. And so I feel like it's the least that I can do is to try to repay her and give her something that we can build together as well as we grow.
Well said. You mentioned family there. Before you go, you got to give one other shout out. You got a special nephew out there who's a great Panther fan down in Tell you better tell us about your nephew.
I have a nephew. He's 5 years old now. Rick got to meet him actually this past weekend at the game, and he suffers from cerebral palsy. But he did just have a major surgery to his spine where he's now going through different things and different rehabilitation programs where he's being able to walk, and he's got a walker now. Typically he's in a wheelchair, but that little guy has so much faith, and just being able to see him smile and still go through the day. And it was cool. Like, we got him out on the field, and I raced him about 10 yards, and it's just cool, man. It's awesome being able to see him. All right,
well, Jacoby, he's going to be there cheering you and the teammates on. Kai, always a treasure to speak with you, and keep working. We look for more good things for you this week and beyond.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Rick.
Kai Black, our guest here. And again, Davenport, we told you at Ashland this Saturday at 1 o'clock on the Dan, but the next home game is 2 weeks, or actually a week from this Saturday, and it'll be against Michigan Tech. And it's a 12 noon game. All the home games this year for Davenport at the Farmers Insurance Athletic Complex are 12 noon kickoffs. But the one a week from Saturday will be a red out. We had a blackout, had a nice crowd there on Saturday of 1,600, and it was a blackout then, but we'll have the red out our next home game a week from Saturday. And Coach, before we get into Ashland, I do want to mention, I know that you and the team did appreciate the nice turnout for the second straight game, a good crowd there, and over 1,600 fans cheering the Panthers on their side. They did what they could.
Yeah, they did a good job. It's nice when our players come home to a crowd that is just, huge support of them. And it was disappointing from the standpoint we didn't give them much to get loud about or anything like that. Ferris, it kind of reminded me of when we played up at Northern Michigan. Northern Michigan had a great homecoming crowd there, and they never got into it because it gets noisy in that dome. It was kind of like our crowd. We were not able to get them into it. They were there for us, and
That's interesting. I had not thought about that because you're right. It was you were leading 14-0 in the game up there in Marquette, and they just didn't get a chance to the same way that the fans weren't able to do it here.
It was identical. I made mention of it on the phones that we got to give our fans something to get motivated about to get us going, but Ferris stifled us, man. They stuffed us, and that's a good football team.
All right, now we turn our focus to Ashland's Eagles right now, and as we look at the GLIAC standings, Ferris State, of course, on top at 3-0. Wayne State is 2-0. Ashland Grand Valley and Saginaw Valley 2-1. Davenport 1-1. Ashland defeats Grand Valley Saturday night in Allendale on that 52-yard Hail Mary pass from quarterback Austin Brenner to receiver Logan Bolin. Bolin, by the way, was named the offensive player of the week in the GLIAC for catching that. And some folks think the Hail Mary passes and that when they work, it's just luck. It's just a deflection here and there. But it's a whole lot more than luck, isn't it, Coach?
No, everyone works on some sort of home run, final play of the game. And when I watched that game, it just looked like, because, obviously Ashland's our opponent, so we get the coach copy of the film. And the coach copy of the film, you can see it all. It looks like a couple guys blew a couple assignments. They had, GV had players in position. Looks like one guy may have been waiting on someone else to make the play, and the other guy was waiting on someone else to make the play. In the meantime, the ball fell right into the arms, of the young man that for the game winner. What a lot of people don't know, the play before that, Ashland actually dropped the touchdown pass. So they had 2 shots at it.
All right, when you've looked at the Ashland tape, so what jumps out at you? What's their biggest strengths?
Another powerhouse. A lot of similarities in regards to physical nature. Big physical football team, really well coached. Lee does a really good job, and their defensive coordinator and that coaching staff, they're very talented. Their offensive line, is big, and they got some youngsters there, and they got a young quarterback that started for them last year as a true freshman. They've got some tools, okay? They've got some tools, and there was a reason why they were picked to finish number 2 in our league. So, once again, we're up against the heavyweight. It's going to be, if this is what we want, we got to be able to stand up to teams like this. And, right now to date, we really, in my mind, have not played Ferris State and Ashland tough. We've gone into those games and we've competed, early, but we seem to, fold towards the end. We were in a good situation with Ashland last year at halftime, and we competed through the third quarter, and then they actually just kind of, choked us out, and our guys, I'm as straightforward with my guys as I can possibly be. In order to go in and beat a team like Ashland, you better not make the mistakes, not even half the mistakes you made against Ferris State, because this team, Ashland, now they're motivated. They just beat a team in Grand Valley that's their defense is stifling, like
and
Ferris.
They don't lose very often in Allendale. Yeah,
No. So, our guys are aware. I'm pretty sure Kai just told you we're aware of what we have in front of us. But it's going to have to be much better effort than what we just gave.
You mentioned they're strong like Ferris. At least so far, they throw the ball more than the Bulldogs do.
Yeah. Ferris State's, is known throughout the country as a team that will, run the football, rush the football on you. And I told our guys going in, there was a mark that we need to keep them under. And, and it was a mark that we needed to hit. And we didn't keep them under, or we didn't hit our mark. This team we're playing now is going to be a little more balanced. They have the ability to rush the ball as well, but their scheme allows them to throw a little more. So we're going to have to be good on the back end, and we're going to have to be good on the front end. And then offensively, right now, our defense actually did not play a bad game against Ferris State, okay? We made them drive the ball, which you're never going to stop Ferris. You're just not going to stop them, But offensively, we did not help the team out. There were some things that went on there offensively that was very discouraging. And there's some of those things were self-inflicted, okay? A lot of credit goes to our opponent, but there were some things that we didn't, it was kind of uncharacteristic, and I still think that still has to do with your opponent as well. But we're hoping to correct some of those things that occurred in that game.
Every time a coach goes into a game, if they win a game, there's always a couple players they'll see on tape that didn't play really as well as maybe they thought they did. And when they lose a game, you usually find one or two players that said, you know what, these guys really played well. Give us one or two players that did play well Saturday despite the loss.
You know, we've been juggling around our offensive line. You know, we're trying to establish a group that's going to be consistent and that's going to lead us over the next 6 weeks. That was one of our meetings and what we were thinking there. So one of the guys on our line, McEwen, he actually he started as a freshman last year. He's starting to play some really good football for us, okay? He was going against a potential NFL player, you know, for the Bulldogs. And, Austin played well on him. You know, he plays well against everyone. But we felt like McEwen did some really good things in that ball game. So he played well for us. I'm proud of him. He continues to grow. He's got a long way to go. But that was a bright spot for us. And then over on defense, you know, we had a host of guys. Kai Black was, you know, he was a Superman out there doing everything. And, we had another young man by the name of Jalen Robinson that, he flew around as well.
He was in on a lot of tackles, a couple pass breakups.
Yeah. He was all over the place too, and he's one of my sophomores. Here's one. Now you're starting to get some of the high school kids that we recruited, noticing that they're showing up on the stat board, and I've talked to my staff, and we want to get those guys in and start. You know, I really feel like you build your program through the high school 4-year kids. The 2-year kids, the transfers, the graduate transfers, those are guys that bridge the gap in competition, because we couldn't compete in the GLIAC if we did not go out and get guys that can help us, you know. So having those guys has been a big help.
All right, Sparky mentioned Jalen Robinson. He had a career-high 10 tackles on Saturday, and 4 of those unassisted tackles as well. Also had 1 tackle for loss as well. Well, Coach, you turn around Saturday. Give us the travel plans for going down to Ohio. And
Well, we take off on Friday. We'll practice on Friday morning, and then we'll take off later that afternoon. We'll go down, and we'll have a team dinner. You know, we do it right on the road. We'll do it right, and we'll have a team dinner on the road, and we'll have meetings, and then we'll put the boys to bed and have bed checks, and then the coaches. What we do, later that night, we get into recruiting and talk about the kids and watch tape of kids that's going to come in the next week, because we play a home game the following week. So our job never ends. And then we button down the hatch on some of the game plans and making sure that we're checking on things that could potentially happen, you know, with the ball game the next morning. And then we go over, get up, have a great breakfast, go over and play before a very big homecoming crowd there for Ashland.
hopefully take care of business. That's this Saturday against the Ashland Eagles. 1 o'clock kickoff. We'll be on the air on the Davenport Athletics Network. That Dan, as you know it, with the audio feed, you can catch for free a little before 1 o'clock Saturday. And again, we'll be right back here 1 week from tonight at Uccello's of Caledonia, and we will have some tickets. If you want to come up to our table, we will have some free tickets for the Davenport home game a week from Saturday against Michigan Tech. The coaches aren't thinking at all about that right now. They're thinking about the next game, but we can tell you fans here in West Michigan especially, we'll have some free tickets. Come on out there and make your plans to be there on Saturday.
Well, speaking of tickets too, Rick, please, to our fans, to our supporters, please go online there and purchase some of our raffle tickets. Our raffle tickets is a big supporter of our program, and it's been tremendous. It's done tremendous things for our program, and it helps us, facilitate different things that we like to do, with our boys, whether it's in our community, whether it's boys, staying in different hotels on the road and for equipment, different things, that having this raffle supports us with. So if our fans go online, purchase, it's simple, purchase of a raffle ticket of $20, and it allows them a chance to win cash prizes.
And you can do that right from home. You don't have to be at the game or at a practice or anything. You do that as well. So do that as well. Spark, we will be back here 1 week from tonight, hopefully talking about a Panther victory over Ashland, and get ready to have a great weekend, all right?
All right, see you down there.
Coach Sparky McEwen, and that'll wrap it up here for this edition of the Davenport Football Coaches Show from Uccello's in Caledonia. Thanks to the good folks. Our server, Ariana, thank you for taking great care of us as always here. So for Coach McEwen, I'm Rick Berkey saying thanks for joining us, and go Panthers.